Welcome to the Disney Wedding Podcast. This show is brought to you by Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, the only guidebook and bridal organizer tailored exclusively to Disney's fairy tale weddings at Walt Disney World. I'm Carrie Hayward, and each week I feature Disney wedding updates, money-saving tips, and interviews with wedding vendors and real Disney couples. I also cover honeymoons, anniversaries, and engagements at the Disney parks and resorts. Join me now as the Disney Wedding Podcast celebrates romance at Disney destinations. Today on the Disney Wedding Podcast, I am speaking with Amber and Usman Khokhar-White about their ceremony on Main Street at Magic Kingdom with a reception at the French Island in EPCOT. I thought you guys would be interested to hear how they chose these locations and how they planned everything and how it all turned out. So welcome, Amber and Usman.
Hi.
Hello.
Well, I would love to start at the very beginning and find out how the two of you decided that you wanted to have your wedding at Disney.
So we decided to have it at Disney pretty much the day that we got engaged. We are big Disney people, both of us. We have fostered over 100 dogs and named them all after Disney characters. Our own dogs are named Disney characters. Usman's built the Lego castles, so we're big Disney fans.
Yeah, so when we got engaged in Turkey, right after that, we were sitting on the rooftops at our hotel and we just thought, what if we had a Disney wedding? Why not? Let's figure it out. Let's see what it takes. And we moved forward with that. So it was a pretty easy decision in our heads.
That's fantastic. So how did your friends and family react when they found out where the wedding was going to be?
Oh, that was the best part. The wedding was the best part. We told my mom. I grew up with going to Disney every couple years with my family. They're big Disney people. And we told my mom when we were still away on our trip. And when we got back, and she said, so what, we should start planning. And I said, yeah, we already did. I already emailed the Disney folks. And she said, wait, I thought you guys were kidding about that. So yeah, my family was very excited for sure. And then we had an engagement party that my aunt and uncle were kind enough to host at their restaurant. And we kind of announced it there when we cut the cake. And I will never forget looking across when we announced it. And I just had this one friend who his whole jaw just dropped. Everybody got really excited. So I would say it was mostly excitement with a little bit of you guys are crazy.
Yeah. And my family, it was also excitement, but for different reasons. It's as kids, we always talked about taking a road trip to Disney World. And we never got to, so they were just excited to see it for themselves.
Well, that's fantastic. How many guests did you invite and how many were able to make the trip?
I think our original guest list was upper 200s, low 300s or something. But then the actual invite was 180, and then our final guest count was 120.
We wrote down everyone we would want to invite. Then we looked at how much it costs to have a Disney wedding, and decided to nicely cut the list a bit. And so, yeah, our final was 180 and we had 120.
Did you set up a room block for your guests?
We did.
Yes, we picked 4 resorts. We wanted to stay at the Contemporary because it was closest to Magic Kingdom, and the Grand Floridian just isn't always quite, in a nice way, isn't necessarily our style because we're just kind of goofy. So we blocked rooms at the Contemporary. We did block rooms at the Grand Floridian for other guests. And then we picked my personal favorite hotel on the property, which is All-Star Movies. I love All-Star Movies. And we chose one of my mom's favorites, which is Coronado.
Wonderful. How did you guys choose the day of the week and time of day for your event?
She's pointing at me, but I actually don't know.
We were told. I'm trying to let you talk.
I think we were told, but also we were figuring out timing-wise, being Disney adults, when are the crowds in our favor and low for people that want to actually go to the parks and stuff. So we knew April would be good because it's a little bit after spring break. So while the kids are back in school, weather-wise, it's pretty nice.
A big consideration, though, too, was, as Usman said, we wanted to do after spring break, after Easter, which fell on March 31st this year, and after Ramadan and Eid, because we had a lot of guests who participate in fasting, and we want to make sure it was after that as well. And everybody could have an enjoyable time, even though it was at midnight. So I guess that wouldn't affect it. But so we just picked the time of year. And then since it was at Magic Kingdom, our coordinator at that point basically came back and gave us some date suggestions that would work.
How long did it take to get approval for an after-hours event at Main Street?
So we reached out to them, I guess, about a year and a half before our wedding. And you can't really do anything official to a year out, but because we wanted to do 4 events, 2 of them being at parks, they were able to, a little more than a year, kind of start working with us on the dates. But yeah, we couldn't get that official approval until a year out for the dates. And we didn't get our final time for the wedding until about 1 week before the wedding.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Now, how did you choose your ceremony and reception venues?
For the ceremony, I think we both thought if we're doing a Disney wedding, we're going all out. We love the castle. I remember the first time I saw the castle. We both love Main Street. We both love Casey's. So being right there meant a lot to both of us, I know. Plus seeing pictures of sort of what the venue's like at night with the soft lights around you. We just both were like, yes, that's what we got to do.
Yeah, weddings are so expensive that we were like, if we're going to spend all of our money on a wedding anyway, let's do exactly where we want it to be.
That's awesome. And how did you choose the French islands at EPCOT for the reception?
We knew we wanted to do a reception at EPCOT just because we thought it would be really fun to be there and see the fireworks show and do it at one of the countries. And the biggest thing that narrowed it down was the guest count. I guess not a lot of people who have receptions there have like over 100 people, according to what our planner was saying. So we kind of had limited options on where we even could have a reception with. At that time, we were thinking it would be like 150.
You guys had your ceremony first because it's after hours in Magic Kingdom, and then you had the reception the next day?
Correct. So our ceremony was slotted for like midnight or 12:30 Thursday night, with us needing to be out of there by 3 a.m. And then our reception started later, basically that same night at 8 p.m.
Got it. How did you choose to do the after-hours event versus maybe doing East Plaza Garden or one of the venues that are available in the early morning at Magic Kingdom?
I am definitely not an early morning person. But also, I think it was more just about that we really wanted like the magic of the Main Street lights. We really loved that whole idea of like the whole park. We can have the whole park to ourselves. And we just wanted to be right in the middle. So that's just how we picked it.
Were there any other restrictions? You know, like Disney has the rule where you can only use Disney's photography team for Magic Kingdom events. Any other restrictions or things about planning that maybe people should know if they're interested in using that venue?
I think definitely it's good to know about the photographer. I did really try. I love the photo team. They did a great job, but I had a couple people reach out that really, really wanted to shoot a Magic Kingdom wedding and were, offering all these things. So I tried to see if we could try to get someone else in, but it was a no-go. The other kind of odd things that we ran into had to do with like the music. So you have, with the ceremony package at the time when we booked it, Disney is always changing things, so don't quote me on this. But when we booked it, there was a string trio included with the price of the ceremony. And we wanted a vocalist as well. So we had added that on. And then a couple of weeks before, we found out that the vocalist wouldn't sing with the string trio. They would either sing by themselves or we could provide a track. And the vocalist was pricey enough for just the ceremony portion, not even the celebration, that we decided to just go ahead and just stick with the string trio and then just play a couple of tracks. But it's just little things like that you might not expect. And I'm not sure why that was an issue, but that was an issue.
Do you remember where they told you your rain backup would be for Main Street if you did get rained out for your ceremony?
Yeah, so that was a tough one again because of the sheer number of people that we were going to have. Our photographer even told us it was the largest one he'd done in Magic Kingdom. And so they didn't really have a lot of options, but they did end up letting us know that we could do Tomorrowland Terrace as the backup.
Got it. Did you guys use outside vendors for any of the portions of your event that you were able to?
So we used Cinemedia for our videography at the ceremony. They came, they set all our mics up while me and the guys were getting our pictures taken there at the park before Amber and her girls showed up. They did videos of all our guests walking in. We actually just got the video back from them the other day and watched that hundreds of times already now, just to relive the day. And they did a great job.
Yes, so we had Cinemedia, and they did a fantastic job. They were so personable, very kind. Sometimes people worry about video or photo being in the way or something, but they weren't at all. They were even super sweet. Usman, right after the ceremony, he said, "This mic pack's hot." And I think the guy, Steve, heard him say that through the mic where he was, and he rushed over and took it off. It was really sweet. So they did a great job. And then the other outside vendor we had was Juliana Makeup and Hair. The girls we had, Shelby was the person who did my hair and makeup. They were absolutely phenomenal. We had 3 of them. They were so sweet and just such a pleasure to work with. I had 7 bridesmaids. Luckily, we had a large suite at the Contemporary to get ready in, so they had room, but even so, they were so kind. Everyone's hair and makeup stayed. We had a diverse group, so it was nice that they worked with all different, skin tones and ages, which I would hope anybody would, but they did a really good job with it. So it was great.
That's wonderful. How did you guys choose your officiant?
So our officiant was my oldest brother, Rihan. And when we told him that we were getting married, and well, he knew I was proposing and everything, but once we came back and told him the idea of, we're getting married in Disney and blah, 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 he said, can I be the officiant? And we said, I don't see why not. So we looked at, what were the rules and regulations behind that in Florida, what he has to do on his side. And he was more than happy to, take that work. And he did an awesome job.
Although he did remind us that officiants should get paid and get a gift. But yes, that was an easy choice for us. We didn't want anything particularly religious, nothing against it, just that's not what we wanted in our ceremony. So it was really nice to have somebody that means a lot to both of us to be there and marry us.
That's wonderful. Did you add any kind of entertainment to the ceremony or the reception? You mentioned a string trio at the ceremony.
Yeah, so the ceremony was only about a half an hour. We had the string trio there, and then we did a celebration in the East Garden Plaza until 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. And so we had the string trio move down there. We also, I didn't know we were doing this, but Usman surprised me, and he got Mickey and Minnie. So they showed up after the ceremony. There's actually a video of it when they said, Amber, you jump in front. I kind of jumped in front of Usman, and then I saw them walking up. It was very funny. So that was our other bit of entertainment, which the guests loved, we loved. And then we did our first dance there during the celebration, but we just did like an AV hookup for that to play our song.
Got it. Did you serve food at the celebration after the ceremony?
We did. We had some of our favorite snacks from around the park. We had Casey's corn dog nuggets, which is like our favorite snack. We had the apple crostinis. We had the mac and cheese with shrimp. Yeah,
we did mac and cheese where you could add shrimp and crab to it.
Yeah.
And as he said, Casey's corn dog nuggets. We had Mickey waffles with a topping bar. We had an alcohol package, which we were not prepared that they would be like pounder White Claws, but that was very funny. And then we had samosas as a little nod to Usman's heritage. We love samosas. Oh, and a cake. Yeah, we did our cake.
That's awesome. Do you have any cake flavors you would recommend?
Oh my goodness.
We loved our cake. It was two different flavors, right? We had a lemonade cake and a marble cake, and then the icing was a lemon blueberry.
Yeah, so when we did our cake tasting, we couldn't decide. We came down with my parents. I say came down. We live in Eastern Pennsylvania. So we flew down to Florida and did a cake tasting in the planning session with my parents, and we sat and tried them all. And I loved the marble with the lemon blueberry. Usman loved the lemonade with the lemon blueberry. And I will say the lemonade was much better. So I would highly recommend the lemonade cake. It's just moist, delicious.
That's wonderful. Do you have any menu items from the reception the next night that you would recommend?
Oh, yeah, all of them.
The braised short rib.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which hotel or restaurant actually serves that, but we had it at the menu tasting. And so we absolutely were like, oh, we got to have this.
Yeah, I also loved it was like butternut squash. And they did a great job. We also did late night snacks. So we did, the Mickey pretzels, the Mickey ice cream bars, the macarons, and everything was delicious. Oh, and they did custom cake pops for us. That's my favorite Disney snack. So yeah, I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't recommend. It was all so good.
Was the event on the second night, was that a celebration or was it a full reception?
It was a full reception.
Got it. Okay, great. Did you guys add any other events around your day, like a welcome party or a farewell party?
Yes. So we did a welcome party at Whitehall at Grand Floridian. There were only about 40 people there for that. We did a full dinner with that and beverage service. We did some espresso martinis, which I would recommend. That was a nice add-on. I think we just had a buffet. Oh, and it was one of my bridesmaids and my grandfather's birthday. So we did custom cupcakes for them and we all sang them happy birthday.
The brunch, we were planning to have it outside in the Italy Pavilion of EPCOT. A day or two before that, we saw there was going to be 94 degrees and there's no cover out there. So we reached out to our wedding planner and said, hey, can we move this to our backup location? And without hesitation, they said, yes, absolutely. So that ended up being inside Norway in the Loft, which was nice, air-conditioned, roomy area. And we just had like your go-to brunch affairs, omelets, waffles.
We did add the omelet station on, and we did have like breakfast quesadillas too, which was nice. But yeah, of course, classic Mickey waffles.
Yeah.
That's great. Can you give my listeners a timeline of how the wedding day and then the reception the next day all fit together?
Yeah, I thought it flowed pretty well. We thought we might have less guests come because of the timing of things. So we warned everyone, this is going to be a midnight or later wedding. Nobody had a problem with that. Everybody was very excited. So the timing, because our ceremony started at 12:30 officially, 12:30 in the morning on a Friday, so Thursday evening technically, the girls and I started getting ready around 6 or 7 p.m. And we had shuttles pick Usman and his party up around 11 and then come back and pick us up at 11:30, the girls and I. And then Usman and the boys they took pictures there before everybody came, so they kind of got to see the ceremony set up. And then we went in and took pictures and they hid the boys away in the theater. And then we hid in the ice cream parlor, the girls, and the shuttles picked all the guests up from 11 until midnight, took them all through security, because you have to do security before the park weddings, and then let them in. And then we had our ceremony, and then the celebration was until 3 a.m. And then everybody went home, slept as long as they wanted. And our reception started at 8 p.m. Friday night in EPCOT with guests arriving pretty much right on time. And that went until 1 a.m. for Saturday morning.
Got it. Okay. So when you guys were planning, what were some of the most important aspects of the event where you focused your attention or your budget?
I think you hit the nail on the head. That most important aspect was the budget. But no, I think the most important obviously most important was us getting married. second most important was having the closest family and friends there. So that was a good starting point for the count. And then I think, I don't know what you would say, but I think third most important was making sure the snacks that we love the most were included.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was going to say the food as well, because, that's a big part of why we like Disney is all the snacks and the food that we've gotten to experience. So getting to share that with family and friends that haven't had that same experience meant a lot to us. As weird as that might sound now that I say it out loud.
Yeah. And it's a good point. Like, we wanted to also plan it, like we said, at a good time. I think that was another really important point. We wanted people to be able to stay in Disney and enjoy Disney and experience it, go to the parks or, so that's why we wanted to try to get it near a weekend if we could, so people could choose what they want to do, maybe go to the parks a little bit.
And were there any aspects that were less important where you saved your money or just your effort?
Yes, save money. I don't know that we can say those words with this wedding, but no, I'm just kidding. I think we saved money when it came to decor. So we did spend money on floral. We did, but we didn't really feel like we needed like any decor really, or the tablecloth upgrades or anything like that, because we were at the parks. Even when it came to the reception, the chair upgrades, we saved money there by not doing any chair upgrades or tablecloth upgrades because, we're at the parks. That's the decoration.
That's great. So out of all of this, what ended up being each of your favorite memory of the wedding day?
For me, I think as cheesy as it may sound, was just like the actual moment, being up there, seeing her walk down. And seeing all of our closest friends and families, the excitement on their face was just, something I'll remember forever.
For me, it was the food. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I think the same thing. I think for me, just, walking out and seeing him and everybody, seeing his back and then eventually him and everybody, and just like, we did it. We're here. We're getting married. Disney already has meant a lot to us for as long as we've known each other and for our whole lives even. So incorporating Disney into such a special moment in our lives is just huge for us.
That's fantastic. Did anything go wrong or just not turn out like you expected?
The floral. Almost every day the floral was wrong. At our welcome party, we had coordinated with the floral person to make sure we had this really beautiful, a waterfall off of the table, because we had the long Roman tables, but it just ended up being a long, thin centerpiece down the table, which is fine. We didn't care a day of, and then the ceremony day, we were supposed to have light petals down the whole aisle, but they put them just on either side of the aisle, which again is fine. These are such little things. And it took us forever to even realize all of these went wrong. And then the reception day, there were supposed to be we had put some butterflies out for loved ones that we've lost. And they were supposed to be incorporated into the centerpiece, which they weren't. But again, the floral did a great job on everything else they did. And if you have to pick something to go wrong and that's it, it's still a great day.
That's great. Was there anything that seemed like a big deal beforehand or you were worried about and then it turned out not to be a big deal?
For me, I don't know if this counts, but the whole thing, because it's, we put a year and a half of planning into this, and in the back of my head, I'm like, what if it's not everything we think it's going to be? And then, the day comes and we get through it, and I'm like, I would relive that moment every day for the rest of my life.
If only we had the money.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I was going to say the food, but I think it kind of goes along with what Usman said, but we were just so overly planning it, where we were, you're just so excited to plan it. And I think celebration food, the reception food, the late night snacks, the brunch, the welcome dinner, the special espresso martinis, our specialty cocktails, all of those things we were so concerned about and kept kind of talking about and working through. But then I barely even remember eating. I know we ate, but did I eat? I don't even barely remember the food. And that's not what it was about. So it's just kind of funny because it seemed like a big deal ahead of time. But now I'm I could have had walking tacos. I would have been happy.
The other thing that was in the back of my head a lot was transportation, because it's such a strict schedule of, hey, we have one shuttle leaving from each of these resorts at this time. If you miss it, I'm a risk manager by trade. So in the back of my head, I'm like, what happens if somebody misses the shuttle? What's the backup plans? How do they get there? How do they get in through security? That sort of stuff. And, luckily for us, we didn't experience that because everything went super smooth. But that was one of the thoughts.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would have done differently, knowing what you know now?
I think I would have found a way to get Stitch at the ceremony as well for Amber. Stitch is her favorite character, so I think that would have been cool.
I did not need Stitch.
I know, but that's why I'm like, everything was just so great. It's hard to think of like, I would change this.
Yeah, you already did a great surprise. You don't need to keep adding on surprises. It was fantastic. Yeah, I think, I don't think, well, maybe we would do less floral. Is that okay to say? I don't know. Yeah, nothing against them. Just floral's expensive. And like I said, we decided not to do decor except for the floral. And we did do massive reception center pieces, but I think the floral is expensive and we could have cut that and it wouldn't have made a difference because of our venue locations. But, I think we just were, we don't really have decor. Let's make sure we do floral everywhere.
Got it. Okay. Do you guys have any other tips or advice for future Disney couples?
I think if you are a fan of Disney, if you dream about having a Disney wedding, I think no matter your budget, they are willing to sort of work with you and figure something out to still make your wedding just unforgettable. So I just think if that's in the back of your head, like, I'd love to get married in Disney, wherever it is, keep to that dream and just, get the conversation going.
Yeah. And I think my tips would be just ask, kind of like what Usman's saying, just ask them how they can help you with what your dream is. And just remember, like, I see people kind of getting upset about maybe not being answered within a couple days or getting stressed about this or that. But the people at Disney fairy tale weddings are also just people. They're humans too. And they are doing this job because they love Disney and they love wedding. And like they want to help you and they want to be on your side. So as long as you remember to treat them like the wonderful human beings that they are, and just remember that at the end of the day, it's all just people, I think they'll try their best to make sure you have the most perfect day, even if you have, like Usman said, you have a small budget and you can't do everything that you want to do. At the end of the day, Disney is a place of magic and they're going to help you how they can to try to at least figure something out that you would like to do. And can I just also give a quick shout out to our planning team because they were really fantastic. We had Pamela Maddock and Kathy, her assistant, and they just were so nice. There were several things we wanted that we couldn't end up doing, and that's okay. We had budget restrictions or this or that, but they were just so nice and thoughtful through the whole process. And we're just, we told them, you do this all the time for people, but you are now forever a part of our story for the rest of our lives. And we're just really grateful to them.
That's wonderful. Well, Amber and Usman, I think you've offered a lot of great tips and advice for anyone who's interested in getting married or having a vow renewal at Walt Disney World. And I appreciate your taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carrie. These podcasts are so fantastic. You do a great job with them.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carrie. We appreciate it.
That's our show for today. I'm your host, Carrie Hayward, inviting you to join me again next week for another episode of the Disney Wedding Podcast. Past shows and tons of photos for each episode are available on my website, DisneyWeddingPodcast.com, or listen in your favorite podcast app. And for instant answers to all your Walt Disney World wedding questions, check out Carrie Hayward's Fairy Tale Weddings Guide, available as an interactive ebook with continual free updates at fairytaleweddingsguide.com.